I was learning what it looks like to truly love on people that have nothing to give you and that you may never see again. Walking into something that you've never seen done before, it's hard. And there's gonna be a million reasons to quit. But if you can just remind yourself that on the other side of you not quitting, if one person's life can be changed for eternity, that it's worth it. At night, after sharing the news with Dom, and he's just like, I mean, he didn't have the moment that I had. So I had to communicate gracefully, but stern, like, this is happening, we have to do this. And he's like, okay.
Welcome to the Collective Talk podcast, where we share reflections on prayer, family, and ministry. On today's episode, we'll be talking about hope and home, and we have a special guest here today who's my beautiful friend, Lindsay Russo. Can you help me welcome Lindsay Russo to the show? I'm so glad you're here.
I know, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited about it.
I'm so glad. I'm like, you're just a wealth of wisdom, and all that you do is so amazing. So I'm like, I have to have Lindsay on the show today. So we're in my home, which is so fun. You're the first person to be in my home, which is so special. And so can you share a little bit about who you are, where you came from, how you came to California?
Yeah.
And a lot of the listeners that don't know what you do, maybe you could tell a little bit about that as well.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a loaded question. Yeah. Let's get going. My name's Lindsay. My husband, Dominic, and I have been married for 16 years, sweet 16. We actually met when I was a freshman in college, and he had just graduated from ORU. We met in Hawaii, of all places. Wow. That was super fun. And we got married not too long after. It's like when you know, you know. We met each other while standing with both sets of our parents, which is so special. And so, yeah, it was almost instant. We just kind of knew right away. By the end of the week, everyone thought we were together, and we're like, no, we just met. It was just so fun from the very beginning. And then we actually dated long distance. So I was in Kansas City in college, and he was living in Michigan, just graduated and just launched his ministry. And so we were kind of like building our own lives, doing our own thing, and then we would fly back and forth to visit each other, which was such a fun experience. We had the best time with long distance. And so anyway, so after about a year of dating, we got engaged, and then we got married, and we moved together to Michigan and started our ministry there. But really, we just always knew we had a desire to plant something somewhere. Both of our parents are pastors, so we'd always grown up in our dad's churches, which was amazing. Can't say enough good things about even being a pastor's kid and doing that, but God really was putting on our hearts to go somewhere and to start something, having no idea where, honestly. I mean, obviously, who doesn't love California? Yes. But we had a bunch of cities that we were praying over and visiting, and just wanted to be in the right spot. And we also, when we started looking around, we also had a ministry school similar to Oceans College called Missions Me College. And we wanted to be in an attractional place. And so that really is one of the reasons that led us to Southern California. And we started visiting and just fell in love. And then told all of our friends, hey, we're doing this. Does anybody want to come? And a crew has decided to come. So I think we're up to like 40 families.
Oh my gosh.
And like 40 kids. I mean, it's wild. About 7 years in, we're just living life out here with all of our best friends who we also work with, which is just an absolute dream.
It's amazing.
So now we're here, and now we're a part of Oceans Church, which has been the biggest blessing, because like I said, we'd always gone to our parents' churches. And so we'd never been a church member. We never like just drive up and sit down. We're like flipping on the lights and doing everything that needs to be done. So being a part of Oceans Church and just getting filled up and getting so blessed every week has just been absolutely amazing.
So amazing. Yeah. Well, we love having you and your family. You guys are truly amazing. So I love your kids. Can you tell me a little bit more about your kids and how many you have? And all that?
Yeah, we have 3 kids. We have Mason. He's the oldest. He's in middle school. He's almost 13. He's our little entrepreneur, Shark Tank lover. He's always has the best business ideas. He's so cool. Like if I could literally spend a day with anyone, it would be him. He's so fun to hang out with. Jude, our middle, he's 9. He is a party. Like there's no other way to describe him. He's a walking party. He's at school for the social hour. He's also extremely smart, but he like doesn't care about that. Everybody thinks he's Jude's best friend because Jude is belly laughing at all times, which is like, we could learn it. We needed Jude, you know, nothing is too serious. He is just so fun. And then we finally got our girl, who is just our total.
And she's a doll.
She is everything. Like, not that my heart needed healing, but after 2 boys that were like the wildest, still are, but the wildest childhood experience. I'm like, oh God, we needed her. She literally completed the package like a bow on top of our family. She's like 5 going on 15, but we always say to everyone, like, she's the nicest person in the entire world. She's so intuitive. She's so sweet. She's like my little shadow. She's hilarious, like absolutely hilarious. And I like, between the 3 of them, I'm like, this is it. This is so fun, and we're just having the best time.
Wow. Well, you're the best mom, I have to say, because they're the cutest, the most well-behaved kids, and they're just a testament to you and Dom. You guys are amazing parents.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
So how did you and Dom meet? Did you guys meet then? I think you said at the beginning at church. What was that like? What was the story behind how you guys met?
Yeah, we were both attending a pastors and leaders conference for business owners and senior pastors. So like I said, both of our parents were senior pastors our whole life. So there was a conference held in Hawaii through a ministry called Bob Harrison. And it's so funny because I started going with my parents to that when I was 12 years old, so the same age as our oldest son. And I met my in-laws when I was in 6th grade.
Wow.
Which is crazy.
That is
crazy. I
crazy.
met them. My mother-in-law and my mom connected over cute shoes, and the rest was history.
So cute.
So my in-laws are the absolute best people on the planet. But as soon as we met them, we just became instant friends, and we would see them not every single year, but every year that we went, we would connect with them. And it's so funny because every year that I didn't go, it seemed that Dominic went. So we totally missed each other, had no idea, even though we were getting to know them. They never really told me about him. So when we met finally, I was 19 and he was, I think, 22. It was like brand new, fresh start, had no idea anything about each other. And so meeting with our parents, it was just so special.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Now, what was like your guys' first date? Do you remember your first
so
date?
I gotta say, it was everything he did, even still does, but everything he did was just big. It's like, that's who he is. It's at the core being of who he is. So, and mind you, he had no money. So he was like figuring out, he was like getting sky miles from family members, you know, figuring things out. I always preface that. I'm like, we just figured it out. But I flew, as I said, we had to fly to see each other. And so our first date, I flew to Michigan to see him, and we hopped on a plane to Chicago. It was like a 20-minute flight, and spent the whole day in Chicago. And it was just, that was our first date, which I'm like, set the bar a little high.
Yeah.
We flew home like in the evening, but we just spent the day there. So now that's like one of our favorite places.
Oh
it was
my
such
gosh.
a special
So
day.
Do you guys go back there a lot then?
Yeah, when we lived in
Okay.
Michigan, we went a lot. We haven't been in a while,
Okay.
but it's like, I love when you can go to a landmark and say, that's where we met. That was our first date, you know, all of that
know.
stuff. So
That's
we've been able to take our kids back there now.
So special. And Mark and I have like a place in Sun Valley that we had like one of our like, maybe it was like one of our first dates was at Banbury, but then another one in outside of Boise.
Yeah.
And it was so fun because it's like a mountain town and we always go back there. And I remember us driving in this car. He rented this car. Mark didn't have money either. But he rented this cooler car. He had like a Volkswagen. I don't even know what, I'm not good with cars, so I don't know. It was some type of Volkswagen, you guys. And he drove me up there, and it was so fun. It is so special when you have like certain landmarks and things that you can remember and all of that. So that's so cool. I love how you guys met. Now, I know that you and Dominic, you guys lead at such a high level, both of you. You guys are doing Missions Me along with Angel House. And so what is that like? And then you're an incredible mom of 3. What is that like doing all of that together? What has that been like?
Honestly, it's just been an incredible journey. It's been a journey, but it's been an incredible journey. I'm so grateful that we both grew up in the church, in ministry families, because nothing is surprising when you kind of grow up where, hard work is normal and you really see so much. But really one thing that I really respect about our relationship and kind of working side by side is I love to jump in on the projects that he's doing, and he loves to jump in on the projects that I'm doing. But ultimately, we completely respect each other's position and just affirm and encourage nonstop, because I know I love to get his input and insight when I'm making a big decision. But if I ever try to rely too much on, hey, could you figure this out for me? He just points me back, God anointed you for this and he spoke to you about this. So I think, this is, and vice versa. He'll ask me questions, but I just know ultimately God leads him so well to lead the ministry. And we just have no striving and competing with each other. We're doing similar things, but different things. And so we're kind of, same office next to each other, but we're running in our own lanes and just really respecting that each of us hears from God so clearly and directly on the projects that we're involved in. Whenever it could get to competition, I know a lot of people couldn't work with their spouse because that spirit of competition could come in. But honestly, it's been fun. It's been a fun journey. It's a lot. It's definitely a lot for sure. There's really no answer about even ministry with kids, working with kids, traveling with kids. I mean, we've definitely taken our kids all over the world in certain seasons, but you just have to know where to lean and when to lean. And that could be a daily choice. What do I need to lean into today? Or we could look at our week and I see he's got a completely packed schedule and has to travel at the weekend. We'll know, okay, the first few nights of this week, we definitely have to make a point, have dinner with the family around the table. And then when the weekend comes and he's gone, we just go out and about and make it fun. And our kids are super resilient they're super excited about everything that we do. So when he has to travel or when he's going to go speak, he'll either take one with him or we just encourage him and just send him and say, oh, this is what he gets to do this weekend. And it's not a loss. It's exciting for them. And honestly, another thing about being in ministry is keep bringing them in on the miracles. My 5-year-old daughter, she doesn't understand yet, but our sons, even when we're going through something, we'll say, this is what we're believing God for, and Dad's going to go meet with this person, and this is what the meeting's about. We're going to pray. And then when he calls to tell us how it went, it's like a family. It's like a family affair. Amazing. And so just, teetering on the edge of telling too much, but definitely we don't want to just tell them when everything's going well. We want to say, these are the things we're really believing God for right now. This is what we need. This is what we're praying about. And then when the miracle comes or when we're in the middle of a challenge, just being honest to say, we're still praying about that, but we know it's going to be amazing. And letting them be a part of that. Because I just think that's so healthy when they can learn that walking with God has twists and turns and ups and downs and, dips and mountain, just like any other thing in life. We just want them to have a healthy understanding that it's not God answering prayers and giving you everything you ask for. It's like, no, this is like walking with him. Wherever you go, he's there. So
I love that.
That's what's been fun about this season of them understanding. It's just, bringing them in.
That's so good. I love that, bringing them in. And I love that. Mark and I try to do that with our kids too, but I love what you're talking about. Let them see, not just the highs, but, we all go through trials and things in our life, but to have them see you. And that's the example that you're setting for your kids, that to just keep persevering, even when you go through those trials and when you go through hard things. Or I remember my dad, I grew up as a pastor's kid too. And he had some, like everyone, we have high highs and then some low lows. But I remember him being discouraged about something. And I remember seeing him in a room as a young child and just seeking God. And I knew he brought us in to the conversation, like kids, we need to be praying for this. And he taught us that at a young age.
I love that.
And so then I remember him being in the room just seeking God, and you could hear him praying for this particular situation. And then to see on the other side of that prayer what happened, and it was a complete miracle what God did. And just to see that as a young child, he set that example when we were young, and so that was pretty amazing. So I love that you do that. That's amazing. So can you tell us, Lindsay, about Angel House, how you started that, and how that all came to be?
There's actually a part of the Angel House story that I rarely share, but it's so cool, and I just think it will encourage people. First of all, Dominic was doing ministry when we got married, before we got married, and so when we started dating and got married, I just kind of jumped in. You know, I wasn't an employee, but I was just went on all the missions trips. I was like the #1 volunteer, and I loved it. Like, I loved every aspect of it, and I fully would have been content supporting him and just standing by his side, which I do, and I was fine with. But I did feel this urge, I always felt compelled to continue to seek God, because I felt like he had a specific assignment for me. This is all I knew. It was a specific assignment for me that was different than what he was doing, but it would complement what he was doing. And that's pretty vague when you're, 20, 22. I'm like, okay, God, let's, I really didn't even know what I was asking for. And I tried to kind of ignore it. I thought, I'm fine just supporting him. I'm not trying to create my own ministry. But that just continued to grow. And so I just continued to seek God to say, okay, Lord, whatever it is you want me to do, I'm here, I'll do it. And it actually was probably 3 straight years of feeling that. And it almost got to the point of frustration, because I wasn't getting any clarity. I wasn't even getting like a tiny bit of clarity. It was there in my heart, but I had no idea what that was. And I remember going to him, I think I was like 22, which is so young, but I felt, I'm like, I can't figure it out what I'm supposed to do with my life at 22. And I would tell him, because God spoke to him when he was 8 years old, and then confirmed when he was 12, which is so young. But I was almost like jealous of his clarity, because he always knew it's exactly what he thought, and he just walked in that. But I didn't have that. And he just said, I can't answer this for you. Like, he's not going to tell me what you're supposed to be doing. And he's like, the only thing I can tell you is just get into the presence of God as much as you can and just listen. And it kind of turned my frustration into an anticipation, an excitement, to where faith was rising, hope was rising. And I almost got to a place where, like, I felt like the Lord could have asked me to do anything, and I would have been like, yes, because I was just so ready. So I preface that to say, so Dominic used to travel and speak to different groups. So this particular weekend, we were in Pennsylvania with a group of teenagers, literally in the middle of nowhere, Lancaster, Pennsylvania, speaking to like probably 20 middle school, high school kids. And at the end of the weekend, they just wanted to pray for us before we went home. It was nothing special. There was no lights. There was just nothing. It was so plain and uneventful, not a big day. But as the kids were praying, this 14-year-old boy actually spoke up. And he didn't even know really that what he was doing was prophesying. He just had a sense, and he spoke out and he said, Lindsay, I don't know what this means, but God's telling me to tell you that you're going to work with orphans for the rest of your life. Just like that. That was it. And in that moment, it wasn't emotional. Like, I didn't cry. It wasn't like, oh, that was it. But I respected that word so much, because it was so pure and it was so sincere. And obviously God knew this timing. We were going to India that week on a missions trip. And so while we were there, out of respect for that word, I just kept telling Dominic, I want to go see an orphanage. Like, of all the travels we've ever done in Central and South America, I've actually never even been to an orphanage. And it was funny because our whole week was planned out. It was super busy. And he's like, I'm booked to do this, this, and this. And I'm like, that's fine, I'll just go. So literally myself and a couple members of our team and like a little camera, and they just sent us with one of the pastors that we had met that week. He's like, I know where I can take them. So spur of the moment, again, not a big deal, having no idea this would be like one of the biggest days of my entire life. So they actually drove us in a bus, and I'm thinking, okay, we're going to go into this big, beautiful place, and we're going to play with these kids, and it's going to be amazing, and I'm just going to see what God says to me. You know, because you just never know. You know, you don't know how it's going to be, but it's never the way you think.
It's true.
So my team and I got out of this car, and we were not at a big, beautiful building. We were actually at a house. It was smaller than this corner of this living room. And we walked into this cinder block room, like literally just bricks stacked on top of each other in the middle of India. It's probably 130 degrees. So short, we had to duck to get in. Tin roof. And I'm literally like, I don't know what this is. They must not have understood what I said. That's okay. We'll just go in and see what's going on. And, you know, but little did I know, I walked in and I felt like everything changed because there was 70 kids sitting in the dirt in this hut behind this pastor's home. And it was a feeding program. It was 70 children that had absolutely no parents whatsoever, were completely raising themselves. And I don't mean like 12-year-olds. I mean like little 2, 5, 6, 7, 8 little kids all sitting there. And when I walked in, they are staring at me, like waiting for me to say something profound. And I am so blown away because I'm so confused, but I'm so overwhelmed.
Yeah.
It was such a powerful moment. I wish everyone could have been there. So I just started asking questions. Who are these kids? Where did they come from? Where do they sleep? How do you take, you know, all the obvious questions. And these pastors who are absolutely amazing, they said, you know, these children just walk here every day. They show up to eat. This is their one meal a day for most of them. Some days 50 kids show up. Some days 100 kids show up. And he said, and a lot of times you just never see them again. And I just began to cry because I knew in that exact moment in time, God had showed me or allowed me to see that at the perfect time of my life. And I just completely broke because I had nothing to give them. You know, I could barely leave that day because you just want to like, you know, we're just fixers, especially as women. Like that, when you tap into that compassion, I mean, I wasn't a mother yet, but I had little nieces, 4, 5, 6, and 7 at that exact time. And that's all I could see was my nieces and these children. And I just said, I mean, we spent the day with them, but I said, I don't know how, but I promise I'll be back and we're going to build you a home. Wow. And that was my,
oh my gosh.
I fully committed on the spot to the pastor. So it's like, you're not going back on that
even
word.
To the pastor.
To the pastor. And it's so funny. I did all that and Dominic was not with me.
Oh my goodness.
Which again, I think that was all God. So I didn't try to like, you know, give it to him to figure out because I would have just naturally just been like, hey, could you, But in that moment, I knew that God had showed me that. I think he allowed me to see that without him because I knew it was for me. And I knew that's what I had been waiting for.
Wow. I love what you were saying too about, I never heard that story about the boy basically prophesying, and that brought clarity to the purpose that God had for Angel House and for you to go on that missions trip.
Yeah.
I didn't know any of that. That is amazing.
I know that Pastor Mark always talks about prophecy being uplifting. And, you know, you hear it. That was something that I had literally never even thought about before. So I'd love to say I grew up with that desire, and then that was a confirming word, and then, you know, 1 + 1 is 2. It really was the first time I'd ever, you know, thought that thought. But again, I felt like that was probably the first time in my life I could have handled that information.
Gotcha.
You know, because I was fully prepared, fully surrendered, fully ready to step into, because you can talk yourself out of anything.
That's the truth.
You can absolutely be like, that's too big. I don't know how. I don't have time. I'm too young. Like, I have kids, whatever it is. But I was so ready for whatever assignment he gave me. It was like the perfect timing.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. How old was the little boy? Isn't it?
He was 14.
He was only 14.
So now he's like in his mid-20s. We're still friends. He came through our ministry school. He has a podcast. He's so cool.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. 14 years old. And is it that how God works though? Because it's like you're he prophesies, he basically didn't know. And he just gave you that word.
Yeah.
And then look what you're doing today with kids, with Angel House, with all of that.
I can confidently say
Yeah.
I wouldn't have sought that out had he not
Wow.
released that word. And that's just so important.
So
to know.
important.
You could be 14 and you could be speaking to someone twice your age. You know, that's intimidating.
It is.
And but it's so true that God speaks to everyone.
Yeah.
That's why I always ask my kids, like, what's God saying to you? Because I respect everybody. You know, when God speaks to someone, it could be anybody. But when the heart is right and when you're pure, like he'll share with anybody. And
So good.
so it was so special.
I'd
So-
never heard that.
I
That's
know.
beautiful. I was
I
like,
know.
that is a beautiful piece to that, like
Yeah.
beautiful story of how
Yeah.
Angel House started. And
Yeah.
I think that the amazing thing too is that you heard that and you listened to God and you were obedient. And I think that a lot of times people think they have a lot of talk. And I think the best way to get started at anything that God speaks to you is to quit talking, but to start doing. And I think that that's something that you really did well, was you listened to God though. First you wanted that clarity and God spoke to you through a boy that was 14 years old. Then you started Angel House and then you took action though.
Yeah.
That is
I would
something that you
say
did.
That night after sharing the news with Dom, and he's just like, I mean, he didn't have the moment that I had. So I had to communicate gracefully, but
Right.
stern, like, this is happening. We have to do this. And he's like, okay.
Did
but
he say, was he on board right
You know,
away?
he
or-
was like more stressed about the financial aspect. He's a big faith guy too, but he was more like, we're so committed with the rest of the year with this and that. And I just told him, I was like, I hear you and I understand what you're saying, but this is urgent. Like I say in one of our documentaries that we made, I knew, and I was so tangibly aware that those kids were sleeping on the floor, like that night. Like they were sleeping by a road, they were sleeping outside, had no protection. And every night that passed, I tried to always stay in a place of peace, but I was so driven to work quickly. Before I even left India that week, I'm on my laptop. I was literally a graphic design major.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I'm like trying to think of a name, because I think I skipped a part. That was February, and then we went back in December and cut the ribbon on the home. So within the next 10 months, I didn't know what to do. I just did what I could do. So I thought of a name. I made a logo, which it's like still the logo. It's kind of
Is
like
it
sentimental.
still?
It's sentimental. That's why we've never changed it, because it was made on my laptop in India, in my hotel room that
in India.
week.
Wow.
Because it was just like the only thing I knew how to do. I was like, I could design something. And I made my own first website because I had like a tiny bit of, it worked. It was a tiny bit of knowledge to do that. And we had filmed a little bit that first day. And so we were like, just made a video. And I just started telling everybody what I had seen and witnessed, because I'm like, if even just a few people care as much as me, no one's going to care as much as me, but if anybody cares at all, or if I could show them these children, if I could really communicate this story, I really believed that people would care. And that's what we're living in today. It's been an absolute, I was over a decade of miracles. But I just feel such a weight and responsibility to share what the opportunity is and what we can do.
Yeah.
And it's like, not everybody is going to care about your passion as much as you, but you have been given a voice to share. And you'd be surprised how many people come out of nowhere. These are not the homes that we've built. Like I said, we built that first home in 2010. Then we knew, okay, this is not just a one-time thing. Like, this is going to be that I'm committing my life to this. Like, I'm all in. Like, you couldn't,
Amazing.
I'm not slowing down, having no idea, what does that even mean? But we had miracle after miracle. And that second year we built 11 homes. The third year we built 22 homes.
Oh my goodness.
And now we're at 350 homes and almost 10,000 kids living in them since 2010. So just following God and him bringing people from literally all corners of the earth we don't advertise, we don't do any of that. It's like word of mouth and truly God bringing people into the conversation.
It's so cool what you guys do. Now, how have you faced challenges that you guys have maybe gone through with Angel House? Is there anything that you've had to overcome that you can share, or just in going through the process of building all these homes? What is that like, and challenges that maybe you've faced within maybe the government, or I don't know. What is that like?
For sure. I mean, it's such a testament to say when God gives you a vision and when he starts to put the pieces together, that literally does not mean it's going to be easy. It just, you have the vision to see past what you can see with your eyes. You can like see into the future. And you're like, no, this is what it's going to be, but that's sometimes not what you're seeing right now. So we've definitely run into challenges over the years. One specifically, so the last time I stepped foot in India, I was literally pregnant with my son. So that's been over 12 years because the government kind of like found out a little bit about our story, and they were a little bit confused on what's going on here. And so I actually got blacklisted from the country. And so all of a sudden, we're at year 2, everything's ramping up. I think the last home I saw in person was home number 12. I'm like cutting all these ribbons. I'm pregnant with my son. I'm like, this is the best time of my entire life. And then, the government's just like, you can't come back. And I was just shattered. I was devastated. And consequently, I had another prophetic word given to me, actually right before the government, shut down. And when I was on top of the world, I will say, so when I got this word, it was Mary Hudson. She didn't know me. She didn't know anything about our story, but almost like a warning where she said, I'm not sure what it is you're doing right now, but you're about to you're about to face a challenge. You're about to face trouble with the government. But she said, but don't worry. It is going to take some time. She said, but stay in faith. And she said, if you'll stand firm, not only will the government stop opposing you, but they're actually going to start to help you and be on your side. I had no idea what that meant. I mean, in the moment, I'm like, okay, that is not what I wanted to hear at all, but she said it in such a beautiful way because there was light at the end of the tunnel. And then those challenges came so soon after that, and I just had so much peace. I said, it's all right. It's okay. We're just going to ride this out. We kept building homes. We kept sending teams. I mean, the fun part is going. Like cutting the ribbon and hugging the kids, like that's the fun part. But I realized I could still do all the work and fundraise with my team and speak on behalf of the kids. And if I can't be there to cut the ribbon, that's not what I hope. But it's okay. I totally trust God. I don't know why he kept me out of the country, or, I don't know. But I totally trust the process. But now, this year, everything just got lifted. I'll be going back in 2025.
Praise God.
I'm literally so excited. I cannot wait.
So this is the first year that they're lifting it.
This is the first year it's been lifted.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So it's like.
Oh, I want to go back with you.
I know.
You're the best person to go back.
I know, it's so fun.
Oh my goodness.
So that's a miracle we're walking in right now. And it was a 12-year wait. It didn't make any sense. Like no sense whatsoever.
Wait, 12 years when you were blacklisted
for 12 years.
No way.
Yeah. And I don't share that a lot. Yeah. But also, it just confirms like there are trials. Even when you're walking with God, there are trials. And something like my husband and I were talking about actually just yesterday. It's like we wish and we would hope just in our like human selves that when you're walking with God and you're walking in your purpose, that it will be easy. It will be blessed, but it won't be easy. But in those trials, and even in the long trials, it's like you find and you see and you get to really know facets of God that you wouldn't have seen if you didn't have to walk through those challenges. And so I feel like we've learning continually so much just to say, okay, God, this is painful or this is confusing. But I want to find what you're speaking in this season, and really just holding on to hope and letting hope rise and having that joyful expectation, even like when nothing you're seeing is what you want to be seeing, like you can still live for lack of a better word, you can still live excited about what God is going to do whenever he chooses to do it, and know that he's good no matter what.
I love that. I love that we all go through struggles and all of that and challenges. And I think that the struggle that we go through today prepares us for and strengthens us for tomorrow. And there's so many times where Mark and I have gone through challenges and trials and things, but God basically, he gives us the strength and the grace to go through that, and he prepares us for tomorrow. And a lot of times, we try to not press into that. We're like, oh, I don't want to go through that trial, but God wants to give us strength and teaches us grace through that whole process of struggling. Well, I loved all of that. And that's amazing. I have to go with you.
Yeah, I know.
I honestly, because you would be the best person to go with.
I will be crying the entire time.
I will be too. Can you share a little bit about how Angel House selects certain locations, or is that, do you pray about that, or how does that all work?
Yeah. It's so cool because we've been working with the same team since day one. So actually that first week that we were there, again, we had no idea how consequential that week really was. But we had a dinner with this couple, and he and his wife have been our director since day one of Angel House. So he and his wife have led so faithfully. I mean, they're like the best Christians I've ever met. So they really had been working with other ministries over the years and had really learned how to do best practice and really giving the best back to these kids that's humanly possible. Outside of being with their born families, what's the next best thing that we could give to them? And so just through his reputation all over India, we really were able to go city by city, because we want to keep kids in their cities, because in India there's so many languages. You could drive 15 minutes and they're speaking a different language. I'm like, we don't want to traumatize these children any more than they might already have so much change and so much confusion. So we really wanted the kids to be able to continue to live in the cities and the communities that they were already a part of, because in India, because street children and orphans are so common. And I think this is so beautiful, and we could learn through this. The communities rally around these kids already, naturally.
Amazing.
So we realized there are churches, there are businesses, there are families who are just taking in these kids because there's no system for them. So they're taking them in and raising them like their own. And that's the kind of people that we wanted to come behind. So really, when we go into these cities, we find the individuals who are already demonstrating. I might not have a lot, but what I have, I'm giving to my community. So whether they're housing children or creating these feeding programs, or just whatever they're doing, we want to empower the local community. And so when we're choosing house parents, that's one of our first requirements, is just them showing us how they've done that in their life. And then we don't want to come and take over. We're not there. We're not doing the hard work. These are saints. Like these people, these couples that are doing the work on the ground, raising these children, they're amazing. And we just want to give them the gift of what they couldn't do, which is capital in a home. We want them to be able to walk in this home. We need nothing from them. We're going to love on them. We're going to support them. We're going to give them this beautiful building and everything they need. And then we're going to do wraparound support with the church communities and the local businesses, or whoever it is in that city, to support them as they're raising these kids. So really, it's pretty tedious. We about 85% of the people who apply for house parents, don't make it to the final the final round. We're super picky. Because there's just so many requirements. But the people we find and the people we choose are absolutely unreal.
That's amazing.
Yeah, their hearts are amazing. And so really our whole model is empowering them and supporting them, and just being so grateful for what they're doing, because they're doing the hard work. They're there, day in and day out.
Well, I love that. And I love that model that you have, that it's so sustainable. And so I think that that's brilliant how you guys do that, and vetting the people and all of that. And I think that that's beautiful what you guys are doing. Now, our church has been a part of, Oceans Church has been a part of Angel House and the story of Angel House. And I think we've, the last couple of years, have been a part of that, and raising money for it. And then also, well, Mark took a team and they did a quick trip.
Yeah.
And I didn't go on that one, so I have to go on this next one with you. But he had the most amazing time going there. And so we're partnering with you guys in Angel House. And every time the first time that I heard about Angel House, and I watched that movie, or the film that you did for that, I literally was weeping. I think one of the team sent it to me and Mark, and I couldn't stop not weeping for a whole day.
Wow.
Like, I was just like, that's Mark and I's heart, you know, and that's God's heart, is to take care of the widow and the orphan. And so I think that that's true religion. That's what it says in the Bible. And, but that's like God's heart. So when I heard you were a part of that, I'm like, Mark, we have to partner with this. And Mark's like, yes, we have to. He was bawling, I was bawling. And for our church to truly be a part of, just a small part of that, is truly like life-changing. And I think in eternity, we're all going to see the impact that you're making, truly, for all the kids and the generations to come. And the thing that I love about Angel House is that how the kids can come in. You have a whole group coming in, and then when they age out, they get, their jobs. They they get an education, and then you have a whole nother crew that can come into those homes. Correct?
Yeah.
And so I love the model that you set, and then the communities, the churches, the wells, and everything. But our church is so blessed to be even a part of Angel House.
You guys are absolutely amazing. I mean, obviously everything that Oceans Church does and is a part of is just so incredibly blessed. But I really can't even put into words what the support of Oceans and the community at Oceans has been to me and to Angel House. The way that the church has rallied around this vision, it's like something I could only have ever hoped and prayed for. And just knowing this church is so young, but this church loves the will of God. And this church really obeys his commands to love the orphan and widow. And, by myself, I can't fundraise my way into what we're walking into. I'm good, but I'm not that good. There's no eloquent words I could say. There's not enough, cities or churches I could travel to tell the story of these children. But me doing my part, and Ocean's doing its part, and everyone doing its part. It's really and truly being the hands and feet of Jesus. It's truly what I believe. If he was here on this earth, what would he do? That's one of the things he would do. He would love these children, and he would create a safe space for them. And I just love that so much. And you guys, I mean, again, the impact that you guys have made, I truly say we'll only know in eternity. Because right now, they're numbers. We have, X amount of homes, X amount of children. But in eternity, what that impact and the generational impact on these children who are now growing up, getting married, having children, and then some of these kids are becoming house parents themselves, and just, it's a legacy. And everything that Oceans has done is part of a legacy. You guys have so many mandates. I know that. And it's just, you guys are big visionaries, and you think big, and you give big, and you encourage people to do that. But it's almost the instilling into people that you can be a part of eternity, and you can set a legacy for what God would be doing on this earth if you were walking the streets today. And that's truly, it's so beautiful. And it's really one of the reasons that we love being a part of the church, because our kids are growing up hearing about miracles, seeing, every service we're praying for people. Every service we're hearing a testimony from a family that we know. Every week we're truly touching God's heart and experiencing his presence. And I'm like, this is where I want to be. And I want my kids to think that miracles are totally normal. And that everything that God's word says is true. And I want them to not just know it on paper, but I want them to see it. And that's truly been our experience. We love you guys so much.
Oh, we love you guys. We're so blessed to have you guys at the church, and to even be a part of what you guys are doing is just blessed us tremendously. And like you said, I think that is the heart of God, what you're doing. And like you said, if Jesus was here on earth, this is what he would be doing. And I think that is just a testimony to you and Dominique for like what you guys have done, and just the blessing you are to the body of Christ, but also to people that don't know Jesus. And so you truly are his hands and feet. And so I'm so blessed. We're so blessed to have you at Oceans. What advice would you give to someone that is wanting to start something, but, you know, maybe they don't have that clarity, like you said. Maybe they don't know exactly what God is calling them into, but they know that they're wanting to start something. They don't know exactly, they don't have all the pieces of the puzzle together. What advice would you give to some of our listeners that are, okay, I want to do something like Lindsay. I want to do something, so I know that God, you're stirring something within me for ministry, or maybe it's something else. What would be your suggestion for them to start?
Yeah. I would say, as much as it is prayer, it's action. So practically speaking, even before I really received, you know, my clear vision about India specifically, I was going on missions trips. So we were like 6 to 8 times a year. We were in Central and South America and all over the place. And we were just loving on people. I was working with kids, and my heart was really open to learning about third world nations. I was learning the language. I was just diving in to be a part of that. In that season, before, you know, India, the door to India ever opened, I was really just immersing myself into different cultures. And I was learning what it looks like to truly love on people that have nothing to give you and that you may never see again. But just spending a lot of our time, spending our summers, you know, overseas. Secondly, I also mentioned about that. I just, when I was trying to figure out exactly what God had called me to, and you hear it all the time, but it comes so cliche, but really truly look at what's in your hands. You're not going to have everything you need in your hands, but you might have clues. You might have different things. So like I said, I could do graphic design. I was also into journalism. I'm like, I can write copy. I can make a logo. I can do this and that. So I only did what I could do, but that actually jump-started so much. Like, it was way more impactful than I realized. And I didn't know how to fundraise, and I didn't know how to speak on a stage, and I didn't know how to start a, nonprofit, but I did know how to do a few things. And so I just started taking steps. So I would say, if someone is really feeling that call to do any specific thing, it could be a business, it could be anything, I would say go immerse yourself in that experience. So like, you can't say I want to own a restaurant and like never work at a restaurant. Like, working in the back of a restaurant, that's a whole different thing, but you learn things that you need to know. And so I would say, even if, you feel God's called you to here or there, just start traveling. Just start getting even if you want to start a ministry, you want to bless this country, go to the country. That's good. Get into the culture, learn the language, just really immerse yourself in the experience. That's and good. Also surround yourself with people who are doing things that you could see yourself doing. It's not going to look like anybody else. Like, it's really not. But even if you could just be inspired by other people, either your age or other people doing something similar, and just learn from them. It's really good. Just or serve them. Like, if it's a ministry and you think, I could see myself doing something like that, go serve that ministry and just learn. Not everything will be applicable. But even just learning how to serve, and then learning culture, learning whatever it is that you want to do, just going and standing in that place in whatever capacity that you can. I remember right after I had just opened the first Angel House, and I actually went to the Color conference in Sydney, and I was just like getting into that environment, this women's conference in Australia with Hillsong Church. I was like, everything in my heart that was a seed, like, blossomed in that moment. Because I'm seeing, for me specifically, for my story, I was seeing women who were walking the fulfillment, and they were also so passionate. I remember learning about human trafficking for the first time in my life in that room. And Lisa Bevere was speaking, and all of a sudden it was like I couldn't get enough information. I was just asking anyone who I was looking up to, anybody doing ministry, I was just learning. I wanted to know everything. I wanted to read all the books.
I love that.
And I feel like bits and pieces of every bit of that came into play. And, you know, now you can stand in a moment and be like, that was important. That was important. That was important. It was all important.
So cool. I love what you're talking about. The seed, when you get around the right people, it began to blossom.
Yeah.
And I love that. I mean, Color Conference, for those that have been to that, I mean, it's just, there's
no words.
nowhere else like their
no
conferences,
words.
right?
Yeah.
And so for you, I love what you're saying, surrounding yourself with those right people.
Yeah. And also not being around the wrong people, which I think you were about to go there.
Yeah.
You know, there's definitely people in your development journey when you're building something, for, you know, lack of a better way to say it, that are not going to believe in you at all. Or they're going to almost mock your vision, or they're going to tell you all the reasons I could tell myself all the reasons I can't. That's the easy part. I always tell my kids, don't tell me about the problem. That's the easy part. Find the solution. So really just in those moments, like blocking yourself from anyone who would want to tear down or can talk you out of what God has said. And so it's like almost like a season of preparation. It can be lonely because you have to intentionally only be sharing, you know, your vision with the right people that are going to encourage you, cheer you on. I know for me, it was our parents. I remember calling my dad from India, and like my voice was shaking. It's nothing I'd ever talked about. It was part of, I'm a pretty timid person. Like, I'm not the person who's going to go start something and like bulldoze my way to like creating. It's just, it wasn't a part of me. But my dad said, when you called me and you told me that story, I knew it was God, because I could hear the authority in your voice. And he has been like my biggest encourager. My in-laws, just getting around the people who truly want to champion you. And it doesn't have to be a lot of people. It could be your spouse only.
Yeah.
It could be one person at your church. Don't wait for an audience to cheer you on. That's not going to happen. More people will tell you why you can't. But yeah, just keeping yourself around those people and away from the noise that says you can't. Because if God said you can, then you can.
So good. And I think if God is for you, who can be against you, right? And I think that I love what you're saying too about just surround yourself with the right people. And there are going to be those people, many people, that will try to tear you down, like, you know, saying words over you. And so it is important who you listen to and who you share your vision with.
Exactly.
And I think that is something that Mark and I learned on the journey of church planting. And even remember when we first came to California and we shared the vision, and Mark and I are just big visionaries. And I remember sharing with the wrong people and then, you know, telling us why we couldn't do this. And so I think it is so important, like you just said, who you share it with. And I remember when we first came to California, there was like these emails that we would get, and people are like, you need to go back to Idaho. And who do you think you are that you can start a church? And we're like, we're not, we're just wanting to start a church, you know? And so, but it is so important, you know, guarding your heart with the vision and the seed that God has given you, and telling it to the right people, surrounding yourself with the right people. And I think that's so important. I love that you said that. Can you share with us like a compelling or personal story about something with Angel House, or maybe something that impacted a family within Angel House, or a child within Angel House, or maybe even like a church community, or something that you remember?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do have one specific story. I have met so many of the kids now, even though some of it's on Zoom. But specifically, there was this one little boy. He was 2 years old. So just imagine, it's like heartbreaking. But Angel House has now become a place where people can seek refuge. So when there is an unwanted child we don't ask questions. If there's an unwanted child, we'll take them. We'll give them we'll take them, we'll house them, we'll raise them. We want to be a safe place. But in the middle of the night, there was a knock at the door, and they opened the door, and it was a 2-year-old boy. He had no clothes on and he had a broken leg. He was sitting on the front porch. And obviously you can imagine the trauma around that experience for him. And our team just took him in. And they immediately got him medical help. They clothed him. I mean, truly like hands and feet type stuff. And they sent us pictures of him. They're like, we don't really know how old he is. He has no idea. I mean, he could speak, but he didn't know where he came from. It was just an absolutely heartbreaking situation. And now he's 16.
Oh.
And he is amazing. And we've literally got to watch him grow from a 2-year-old abandoned child with he wouldn't have made it. He just wouldn't have made it. And those are the stories that impact me, because it's like God showed up for him through us, but like God showed up for him, and he sent him to us, and now we got to raise him. And they send me, like, they know he's one of my favorites. I mean, he can't have favorites, but he's one of my favorites because his story is so cute and so compelling, because now he's a 16-year-old. He's doing amazing in school. He has like all these big dreams. We got to meet him when we went. And yeah, his story is one of thousands just like it. But just knowing that God, he isn't walking here on this earth, but he can provide, and he can save, and he can rescue, and he can show up in any situation. You don't have to be in the right spot. You don't have to earn it, deserve it, beg for it. It's like he is providing for these kids, and we're just here to facilitate part of the process. So that to me is just showing how sovereign the Lord is and how good he is. And again, there's thousands of stories just like that. But that one little boy, they email me his pictures and his updates all the time. And I'm like, oh my gosh,
So he's 16 now.
He's 16.
Wow, that story is powerful.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't even imagine that showing a 2-year-old or just.
They actually named him Dominic, which is
no,
like we wouldn't have done that, but it's so sweet.
Yes.
A lot of the kids, they don't have, they don't know their names, or they don't know their birthdays. So we have a joint birthday party for everybody.
That's
because
so
we don't know they don't know their birthday. But they named him Dominic, so they always send us pictures of Dominic.
Gosh, so every year they would share pictures with you guys.
Yeah.
Wow, that's beautiful. I love that story. And it's so personal. And a lot of times people, they hear about all of these things, these amazing things that people do, and with Angel House, what you're doing, but it's actual lives.
It's so personal.
It's so personal.
Every story, like think about one of your kids, how intricate they are, how they have emotional needs, they have physical needs, they have likes and dislikes, and they're talented in this area. Like they're so, every one of my children are so different. They're so intricate. They have needs. They have all the things. They're so special. And I'm like, every one of these almost 9,875 kids means that much to God, and has such a call, has such a purpose, is so intricate. And we don't want any of the children to ever feel like that people don't know them, but God knows them. Right. And when you really think about what one life is such a big deal, it's like I never want, no matter how many children we're able to rescue and how many homes we're able to build, I don't ever want it to be numbers that we're reporting. It's like every single one of their stories is wildly different and means so much. And I just want to do diligent to tell about them, because they deserve that. So
beautiful. Well, I mean, every person matters, and their story matters, and they matter to God. And so that's why I love what you do, because, you're the hands and feet of Jesus, and you truly are loving every child. And it's just beautiful what you guys are doing. Can you share with our listeners just how you got involved, or how they can get involved with partnering with Angel House? So if they're touched by this podcast and they're like, I can't wait to find out more, or how can they partner with Angel House?
Yeah.
What are steps that they can do?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. They can go to our website. It's angelhouse.me. And there's so many opportunities to get involved. From you can take on a project and build a home. So we build homes for 25, 50, and sometimes even 100 children at a time. So you could rally your business, your family, your community, or yourself and build a home. And that home is fully everything that home needs to survive. You could fund a fresh water well. Obviously, we haven't even talked about water. Water is so important. You can't survive without water. And So many of these kids, while they're trying to survive, they're walking miles to find clean water. Dirty water is everywhere, but to find clean water, it's such a commodity that we don't think about. And so at each of our homes in all of our communities, there's a fresh water well that not only the kids get to use, but everyone in the community also gets to use and gets to come. And it's like really a unifying experience. So you could provide for a fresh water well. We have a huge need for wells. You can be a monthly sponsor. So that's called our Guardian Angel program. That's so important. We can never talk about that enough. It's literally a gift every month of any amount, but it just goes to supporting the entirety of the homes, because we want all the homes to be having everything that they need. And then obviously you could come. So we used to do trips every 6 months, and then little thing called COVID happened and things got complicated. We don't have any, before I get blasted with DMs, we don't have any trips planned right now, but we're definitely gonna be going back soon. And we just love for people to experience it, because there are no words. It's just so special. It's such a special place, and it's just the best time.
Yes.
And so when that becomes available, we'd love to bring people just to like love on the kids and meet the communities and be a part. But all of those things are on our website, and it would be such an encouragement for anyone who feels compelled. Just come be a part, jump on, and in any way that speaks to you, we'd love to partner.
Well, I know even like some like high school kids got involved. They got their parents involved, and then they wanted to, families in our church wanted to build a home. And there's so many ways that you can get involved. And I love what you guys are doing. So you have like the homes, but you also have the wells, and then you have the church. The churches
community
too.
Transformation projects, and those are church buildings, also multi-purpose buildings, so they can meet for small group, they can do their homework, like it's a hall, it's for the community, and then they can have church there every Sunday. And then there's also a water well at that. So that community transformation center is multi-purpose, but it's used for good purposes, and those are amazing. And just like all the children in our homes have a story, we have some just amazing stories of people who have said, committed to God, okay, I don't know how I'm gonna do this, but I feel compelled to build a home, or I feel compelled to fund a water well. And then watching God provide has been so fun. Like we had an 8-year-old little girl in Missouri a few years back that got super passionate, and she fundraised for an entire home.
No way.
At her elementary school, at her church. I mean, that is like
that's amazing.
Unreal. And it's like truly when you're doing the right thing for the right reason and with the right heart behind it, it's like we almost just, I mean, you don't laugh, but you're just so aware that like God wants these homes funded. He wants these kids to be provided for. And the blessing that has followed has just been remarkable.
So special. That's like my Chloe's age.
I know.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That is so amazing.
Yeah.
Well, we're so blessed, and just to see, I'm excited for what God's going to do in 2025 with Angel House and our church partnering with you guys. But if you would like to partner with Angel House, and you can visit, what was the website again?
Angelhouse.me.
Okay, angelhouse.me. And so it's beautiful, and the stories, their personal stories, of these kids, and I can't wait to go with you. I want to go with you. I know you. I bet you can. And so just going, you can go back there once they get the trips going. But I think as of right now, you can partner by giving or donating or praying for Angel House. And
if you want to share this story, we have a couple short documentaries that just really says the whole story. And so you can watch and just get more information.
Amazing. So any final thoughts you would like to share to those listening? Maybe things on just being obedient, maybe stepping out, being obedient, anything you would like to share?
Yeah. I would say, I mean, thank God I did grow up as a pastor's kid, and I never had to be convinced that I should pursue kingdom purposes. But I think a lot of people do kind of get stuck in that, but I wasn't called to do that. And I'm not saying that your ministry has to be your job. I think some of our most amazing partners are business people who really don't even have time to be doing missions work, but they're so compelled. But, you know, my Bible says, and I think your Bible says, go into all the world and make disciples. Whatever that looks like, that's our mandate. And so for me, it's going to India and building these homes. For you, you're starting a church in Orange County that's just blessing thousands and thousands of families. I think everyone, if they really thought and got quiet before the Lord to say, what does that look like for me? And then doing it, things would truly, truly change. So not giving yourself a pause to say, but I'm not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to do it. You're supposed to do what you're supposed to be doing. And then just persevering. You just persevere, and then you'll get through the challenges. Starting anything is so hard.
Yes.
Starting, you know, life is hard as it is, but starting a ministry, starting a business, walking into something that you've never seen done before, it's hard. And there's going to be a million reasons to quit. But if you can just remind yourself that on the other side of you not quitting, if one person's life can be changed for eternity, that it's worth it. And so really taking that focus off of, this is overwhelming, I don't have all the answers, and just think, if I fulfill God's call on my life, will people's lives be changed? Will your family's legacy be changed? Will generations be changed? The answer is yes. Skip the end, yes. Then it's totally worth all the push, all the trials, all the heartache. It's worth it. He's going to be with you every second. So I would just say, just start, whatever that looks like. Look in your hand, see what you have, do with it what you can, and just don't quit, because there's so many people who need what each of us is called to do.
So beautiful. I love that. So use what's in your hands and then just start. And I love this. I'm going to say this again. You know, I talk with so many young people, and they talk a lot about what they want to do, but I think that stop talking today and start doing and being obedient. And I think that when God's with you, you can do all things. And I love what you're saying. Use what's in your hands, and God will. I believe when you step out, you take those first steps, God will lead you. And it's beautiful. Well, I'm so blessed you came on the show, and just everything that you shared was so beautiful. And just to see what you guys are doing, you have impacted my life and my husband and our whole church. And just to see what you and Dom are doing is just so inspiring. And so you keep on doing what you're doing, because you are making a massive difference within so many people. And so I think, again, when we go to eternity, God is just you're going to see the impact that you have made here on earth. And so thank you for all that you do. And I love you so much.
I love you too. We love you guys so much. It was like instant connected. You guys started sharing the vision of Oceans before you started Oceans.
That's
and
right.
Dom's like, oh, I like them.
Yeah.
Because, you know,
Big
thinking
visionaries.
that big is a gift.
Yeah.
And just hearing it from before you even started, because we met you right before Ocean started.
right.
And then even, 5 years, 6 years down the road, seeing it now, I feel like we've gotten to sit front row, which is like such a cool experience. So we're so blessed to we're like right with you. We're shoulder to shoulder, front row, cheering you guys on. And we're so grateful.
We love you. But thanks for coming on the show
Thanks
today.
for having
love
me.
you.